Hello everyone, this is Connor with Shopscape Lawn and Landscape. Today I want to talk about something that is very important regarding growing a business, and it is going to be my experience with this particular thing. So I'm going to talk about why I downsized my business again, and why I have failed at running crews. Again, I think this is a very important topic, and it does come down to about one or two main things, but let me just start with some of the stuff in no particular order. So, the biggest thing as of right now, I wouldn't say the biggest thing, but right now, the thing that kind of broke the straw on the camel's back is we just don't have the upsells right now. So we do mostly, well, we do about 50-50 lawn mowing and then landscape maintenance. In the spring, we do a ton of landscape maintenance. Like it's more than the mowing. It's ridiculous. I mean, especially this year, I had two guys running full-time, working overtime, and then I had two part-time guys on top of that were helping out kind of just when we needed them. They were high school kids, so they were in school. They didn't really need like a consistent schedule or anything. So that was actually very smart, I think, because I had them in place as backups. So, but right now, we just don't have a lot of landscape work to do. And the issue with that is, well, you guys could say, oh, well, just kick up the marketing and sell more work. And you'd be right. The issue with that is I only have one employee, or I had one employee as of now. And I'm sorry, guys, I gotta show you this. Look at the deer out there. Can you see them? Look, there's two babies. Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild? Anyway, if you guys couldn't see it, I'm just gonna cut that part out. But you would say that I could just do more marketing and get more work, and that's true, but the issue with that is I only have or had one employee, and it would take away from the time that I would be able to work out in the field, which is a big revenue generator when you only have one employee. You really have to be in the field, and that was my dad in the background. I kind of hope he pops up again. You guys can put in the comments how many times he pops up in the background. Anyway, yeah, so if I'm not able to work out in the field as much and my employee's doing all the work, that really takes away from some of the profitability. Now, I am very good with my pricing and where it's at, so I could still make money, but it would be more profitable for me just to get rid of the employee and just do it all myself and work a crazy amount of hours and just get it all done and save the $1,000 a week in payroll or whatever it was. So now for that employee, I would have kept it going the way it was and we could have made it work, but he ended up moving on to another job. And I think the main reason that is, and just to give you some context, he was and is my friend. So that changes the dynamics of it a little bit. But, and he's worked for me multiple times. I've hired him, fired him, he's quit, he's come back, so if you guys have employees, you have had employees, you probably know how this goes. You've probably gotten rid of guys or they've quit and then you've hired them back. That's pretty common, especially, because it's so tough to find workers, So he had done a ton for me this year. He was really phenomenal at the beginning of the year when I was using him. I could leave him on job sites, all types of stuff. Then I'm not going to get into that right now, but basically, well, yeah, I should get into that. So this is really the main thing it comes down to. So I was having personal issues. So whether you have issues with, at home and it's stressing you out and making you angry, you have issues with drugs or alcohol, that's a huge thing, guys, especially in this industry. A lot of guys have issues with drugs and alcohol, and I fell into that category. So I had a ton of stuff go on all at once. I had a relapse situation, and everything just kind of fell apart. So there you go. That's the main thing. However, there is more that I took away from this. But anyway, he ended up running things for me while I was out of commission for a while. And my dad, who you saw in the background, who did a phenomenal job, for what it's worth. But I still have my business, right? Which it could have went the other way. So, I mean, that's the main thing right there, that guys, like, you gotta take care of yourselves. But there is more I'm getting to here. So having too high of expectations for your employees. You know, and I've struggled back and forth with this one because I've had really crappy employees where I was like, am I just supposed to like accept this? And no, I don't believe that. But there's also the other side where you're expecting too much out of your employees. At the end of the day, your employee wants a job where they can come to work and they can go home and live their own life. Big no-no. And I actually I didn't do that. As far as I'm aware, I didn't really do this at all this year. Like calling employees after work to talk about work, that's a big no-no. You don't want to do that. Talking about personal issues at work, that's something I did because I had a lot going on. That's a big no-no. A lot of times it can bring the employees' issues to work as well, which it didn't quite do that. But again, this happens when you're hiring friends, you know. But here's another point I want to get at. So the other employee I had was not a friend of mine. I actually hired him off of Craigslist. He was a phenomenal worker. And essentially, the reason it didn't work out with him was because of the issues I was having. He didn't know if he had a stable job that was going to be there for him, which likely it would have. But who wants to put their faith in somebody that's whacked out, you know? So I think that's the main thing it comes down to. However, when I did talk to him about it, one of the things that he mentioned was the job description. In the job description, it said something along the lines of fast track to running a crew. And that is what I was working on. Like, I had enough accounts to where he could go out by himself and run everything himself. But the idea was, and I don't know if it said this in the job description, but essentially what I told him is I'd like to get a guy working under you that can do all the weed whacking and you can do the mowing. Well, some of these, you don't want to make promises too early because he was a phenomenal worker. However, when it came to like the weed whacking stuff, you know, my other guy was faster. And I wanted him to get better at the weed whacking, and so I would come out with him and have him weed whack, and he kind of took it as me just wanting to sit on the mower. And the other part of that was I did want to be on the mower because I can make more productive work on the mower. Like, I can knock stuff out, you know what I mean? I can't speed things. The mowing usually takes longer on the properties that we're working on, so the faster I can mow, the faster everything goes, right? So yeah, accurate job description. That's huge. And you don't want to overpromise with these things. You don't want to tell someone that you're going to manage 5 crews in 2 years if you're not going to make that happen. And if you don't know that you can make that happen, you might think you can make that happen, but if you don't know you can make that happen and they sense that, or you're not able to make that happen and they can tell like it's not happening, they're going to quit. And you might lose a really good employee. So both the employees I had this year were actually really good compared to employees I've had in the past especially, but genuinely as people too, they were very good people. The employee that I got off of Craigslist, phenomenal guy. And my friend, phenomenal guy. And things just didn't work out. So some of the reasons I think that this is a good decision for me right now to not try and hire again and grow it up to 2 crews and do all the marketing and maybe just hire a bunch of guys right now and go crazy with the marketing. Obviously, it's not spring, so the cost of getting a customer is going to be more. And what I'm essentially doing and focused on right now is kind of slowing down to speed up. So there have been some times in the past where I would just take everything I could get, right? I've always been decent with the pricing, but I've screwed that up before too. And keep in mind, guys, I've been doing this. I'm 21. I've been doing this since I was 10 years old. And you might laugh at that and be like, oh, yeah, you've been running a business since you were 10. Well, I've been watching these dudes on YouTube that you probably don't even know about, George Packard, Johnny Moe. I've been watching these dudes since I was 10. So I have a business mindset, right? And I had a business mindset about my business back then and how I would attain customers and do sales and things like that. I know it sounds ridiculous, but because of that, I'm very much so a natural at these types of things. But anyway, getting rid of low profit lawns was something that I did. I didn't have a ton of necessarily low profit lawns, but they weren't the right fit. They weren't in the service area I wanted them in. And maybe I was just, I guess the word would be disenfranchised with the customer, or the customer stressed me out, or it just wasn't working. I just wasn't getting along with them. Maybe they were a passive-aggressive customer. Maybe they were a rude customer. And I'm not talking about anyone in particular. But I had to get rid of quite a few customers. And some of them were good customers. Like the one lawn I got rid of was a $70 lawn. But here's the thing, guys. The neighborhood I was doing that lawn in, at one point, I had 10 lawns in that neighborhood. I raised the prices on everyone. Almost everyone quit. I had 2 left in there. And it just wasn't worth the drive to that area. Even though it's in the same city that I'm in, it wasn't worth driving the 10 minutes to that area. Could be more with traffic if I'm getting done later in the day. And guys, I work 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Especially when I'm by myself, and even in the spring, we were working a ton of hours. And that's another thing I might get to, which is basically just, it goes back to the inaccurate job description. Essentially, like, if you tell them they're going to work 40 hours, work them 40 hours. It's that simple. Like, don't even ask them to come in overtime, because I ask my employees to do that. And especially, the guy from Craigslist, I think it wore him out because he was an older guy, but he kept saying yes, and for whatever reason, and again, I'm not blaming anyone. This is just how I interpreted it. It's hard for people to express their grievances, and it's not the worst thing. It's probably them trying to just go along to get along. But you know what? I'm not even going to get into it too much, because at the end of the day, it does come down to one thing. But what I'm getting at is, like, guys, keep everything simple with the schedule. You don't need to keep working, guys. And overtime hours anyway. With overtime, it's a nightmare. Hire another employee if you have to. Hire a part-time guy. Just work them 40 hours. End it at that. You don't need to. They want to have a life, okay? And if you're working them Saturday and Sunday, they don't want to do that. They might say they want to do that. They probably don't want to do that unless they don't have kids and they don't have a girlfriend or anything, and they're just trying to make money. Yeah, sure. But otherwise, they want the time off. They want the time off. That's my experience. So, back to what I was saying. I got rid of this $70 customer in this neighborhood that was about 10 minutes out of my route, because it wasn't worth driving over there anymore. With the drive there and the drive back, another factor was I wasn't getting extras from either of these customers. It would have been a different story. The one customer I had for 2 years, no extras. Very nice customer, very picky customer. Love that customer, by the way. But that's what it was at the end of the day, and I ended up giving them to another lawn bro. So I just got rid of the lawns. I didn't try to sell my lawns. I think I gave 3 or 4 to him, and then the ones that were issues, I just got rid of. I just got rid of them, you know. Um, if somebody's calling you 5 times a day to ask you when you're coming to cut the grass, and you texted them and told them when, hey, we're going to come cut the grass today, unless you're very new in business and you actually need the work, like, that's stupid. I don't care if it's right in your route. If you have your business is established to the point where you just don't need the money, like, I could care less. I'm not dealing with that. I'm just not dealing with that. So that has been a huge thing for me. You know, I had one customer that I had for 8 years, 8 years. And I've been putting up with this customer's, if you guys are in this business, you know what I mean, weirdo-ness, BS, like, just, forgive me, stupid shit, just stupid shit that you don't want to deal with. Got rid of them. Way better, guys. You don't have to please everybody. And that's pretty much all I got, guys. Downsizing my business has allowed me to slow down, to speed up, essentially. It's allowed me to get things dialed in so they're more profitable. It's allowed me to just work and not have to worry about keeping people busy or doing anything like that. I actually got to take yesterday and today off, which has been phenomenal. It's Monday today. I actually took a Monday off, believe it or not. I went to Outback. I ate way too much food. I mean, it was messed up, guys. I ate that whole, I don't know if you guys have Outback near you, but I ate that whole bloomin' onion. I still feel like crap, but yeah. I mean, the main thing is, guys, your health has to be priority number one. Everything else comes after that. Because if you're dead, your business isn't going to matter. If you're sick, your business isn't going to matter. If, for those of you who are in relationships that you want to stay in, if your relationship fails because you're just focused on business, again, there are priorities above business. Now, I'm at a point in my life where I can put a lot of effort into my business because it keeps me busy. It's what I enjoy doing. But I also need to take some time for myself, you know, because otherwise I'll just hate my business. I'll hate it. You know, if all I do is work 12 hours, 12 hours, 12 hours, 12 hours, which I kind of have been doing for the past month and a half, it starts to wear on you. So I'm contemplating on, should you take one day a week off? I think if you have kids, you should take the weekend off. I think if you have kids, you should 100% take the weekend off. I think if you have kids, if you can be done by 5 o'clock, if you can be done by 3, you want to spend time with those kids, because those kids are going to grow up and they're going to turn into me and they're going to be all types of problems. That's sort of a joke, but yeah, that's pretty much all I got today, guys. The main thing is take care of yourselves, be smart, make educated decisions when growing your business or hiring someone or firing someone. One more tip for you guys, and this is pretty typical. If you're thinking about firing a guy, now, I could be wrong. You could just, I could be wrong. But typically, if they feel like they're not the right fit and you have reasons to back it up, like they sit in the truck for a couple minutes before they go out and mow, or they what I'm getting at is, if you feel like you should do something in your business, you should probably do it. If you get that gut feeling about a customer, about an employee, anything like that, you should do what you want to do. It's your business at the end of the day, guys. Don't let your business run your life. You run your business, okay? So that's pretty much all I got today. You guys have a great evening or morning or whatever. Have a great time. And I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, take care.